Hey guys, welcome back to Generation S, and thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. In this week's episode, my buddy Derek and I are reviewing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which came out in theaters just about 2 weeks ago. So, love the film, by the way. So, if that's all you want to know, you can tune out now. But I hope you listen to this. Here's the thing. As we've done with recent movie reviews, there will be spoilers. I tried to hold off as long as I could. You'll listen and find out. I tried not to spoil too much until we wanted to get into some of the deeper topics within the film, and there was just no avoiding them. So you have been warned. This movie review will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen the movie, go watch it. It's great, and come back and listen. Or if you don't care, listen, enjoy.
What is it?
It's time to go back. Welcome.
Hey there, welcome back to Generation S. It's a podcast about growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s. Let me put it to you this way. If you went and saw the Ninja Turtles movie that came out just a few weeks ago and you felt like a 7-year-old again, this podcast is probably for you. I'm Dan Kemp, and today I am joined by a returning guest to the show. His name is Derek Taylor. He is the co-owner of Texoma Esports and co-founder, co-owner. I don't know. What do you call that, man?
All of the above.
All of
yeah.
Dude, welcome back to the show, man.
Dude, glad to be back.
Yes.
It's good to talk to you again, man. It's been a minute.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, I mean, we text every so often, but I think the last time you were on the show was like, is it months ago at this point? I mean,
yeah, I think so.
I'm trying to think. Like, it was LAN parties, so that was a while back.
Yep. Yeah,
yeah, dude. No, well, I'm super excited to talk about this with you because I had messaged you the other day, so we've both seen the new Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem, and I messaged like, dude, what do you think of it? And you're like, it's amazing. I said, perfect. You want to talk about it for the show? And you're like, yes, because we actually, because I've done some Turtle stuff on the podcast before, but it was with Lou. So I mean, I know you like Ninja Turtles, I like Ninja Turtles, but just for the listeners, because you and I have never discussed it publicly. I mean, how long have you been a fan for? Has it been since basically the beginning?
So when I was about 3 years old, I got a Nintendo, my dad had a Nintendo, and we would play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade version for regular Nintendo.
Yep.
And that to this day is still my favorite game of all time. It's what got me into gaming, and I'm still a gamer to this day, so much so that I started a business running gaming events. So,
and it's because of that game.
Because of that game.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I've been a Turtles fan for a long
So it wasn't even the show or the toys that got you into it. It was the game first, and then you went back and got into the show and stuff?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So Turtles
did you have the toys
in my life? Oh yeah, I probably, if I look around, I could probably find one of the old style one where you could it would transform into the
flip
into
or
the
like the baby
turtle.
turtles. Yes.
Yeah.
I had at least I think I had 2 of those actually. I always loved those. I always thought those looked really cool. I think there was a bit of a party foul with a couple of the characters, because I had a few. I remember Bebop would transform, and I thought Bebop looked great, but then when he transformed into a human, he was a white dude. Whereas I remember from the the cartoon, he was a black guy in the cartoon, which is totally fine. But like, they made him a white dude for this transforming Bebop, and I have no idea why. So anyway, party foul there. But other than that, yeah, no, dude, I had so many of the Ninja Turtle toys, and I've talked about it before, obviously, on the show. But I love that they're still around. I'm sure you've seen them in like Walmart or Target, right? They've got all the old toys out again. Like, you can buy those transforming turtles again that you had as a kid.
They definitely rebooted them along with like the new merch from the movie and stuff as well. So I actually just bought my niece a little a Michelangelo from the movie.
Oh, from the new one?
Yeah.
No,
plush. So
I am not ashamed to admit that I have bought all of the baseline figures from the new movie. Like they're sitting somewhere. I was going to keep them in the packaging, and then I'm like, you know what? Like I took the kids to see the movie. They really wanted to play with the toys. I'm like, you know what? Like let's be honest here. They're probably, I mean, they might be worth something one day, but it's worth it more to have my kids enjoy these now. So I took them all out of the packaging, and you know,
I like the idea of holding on to stuff like that, like in the box, but. At the end of the day,
well,
really, if you're going to hold on to it for that long, you're really going to get rid of it.
And that's my thing too, because I've got stuff up here that I'm like, oh, am I keeping it in the packaging to invest in it where I would be willing to part with it one day, or do I actually want to keep this stuff? In which case, it won't matter if it's in the box or not, you know, because that's like the collector's conundrum, right? You know, it's like, do I in the box or out of the box? But as far as these guys go, and I got to tell you too, I don't know if you've had a chance to get a look at them, but they're like very reasonably priced, like $10 a piece, which by today's standard is pretty good for an action figure. And honestly, the quality is like top notch. Like these are very well made toys. So I was happy to shell out the dough for it. Yeah. Well, and before we even get into the plot, let's just talk about the toys, the merchandise. Like this new movie, the way it's been promoted over the last, I'd say 6 months is when you started really seeing stuff pop up, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, yeah. It's pretty standard for as far as movie promotion, but my God, you can't go anywhere without seeing the 4 turtles on a purple background. Like they're all over everything. It's literally like the 90s all over again with how the original turtles were on every piece of merchandise you could find. Like I thought this was the coolest thing. For example, in Walmart, I think it was an exclusive to Walmart. They had like Ninja Turtles frozen pizzas. Did you see those?
I have not seen those. No.
And like each turtle's got its own like toppings or whatever, and then they've got one that I want to try. Like I'm ashamed to admit it, but I want to try it. It's like a macaroni and cheese pizza. I think it's called like
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think it's called like Mac Attack or something. And what's really cool is the bottom of the pizza crust is literally the turtle shell pattern in the crust.
Oh, nice!
Like the attention to detail. Yeah, well, and again, so like Seth Rogen was the producer of this movie, or one of the producers. He didn't direct it, but I know he produced it. I think he maybe helped write it, but I don't know if that means he's involved with marketing. But whoever is, like, serious tip of the hat, because they have nailed every aspect of Turtles. And not only that, but like, it's like cool looking stuff. Like it's not like junk that they slapped a logo on. Like, I'm sure there's some of it, but most of the stuff I've seen is like, it's cool looking, and that could just be me with the rose-colored glasses growing up with Turtles, and the fact that they really did, stick to what made them work in the 90s with this, this new iteration of them. But I've loved everything they've done so far with marketing. Like, is there anything that stuck out to you so far? Other than like the toys and stuff.
Pizza Hut got them back, dude. Like,
that's right.
The Pizza Hut, the Pizza Hut boxes. I got a Pizza Hut pizza the other day, and it had Mikey on the box. I was like, yeah,
there it is. Well, and minor spoil. We're gonna try not to spoil too much of this movie. Especially if you haven't seen it. But I will say that Pizza Hut is back to partnering with the Turtles full blast, because they are also featured in this movie, which I think is ironic, because I remember back in the day, there was a Pizza Hut commercial before the VHS tape of the original Turtles movie. It's like a classic. Mm-hmm. It's like they're playing baseball, these kids, and they go to Pizza Hut afterwards. And then in the Turtles movie, they go to Domino's, which even in and of itself is insane. You live in New York City. Why are you ordering Domino's? But yeah, so I love, that they got Pizza Hut, because you're right, it's back. And they've partnered with them a few times over the years, but I don't like Pizza Hut, but I want to order pizza just to get the box, quite frankly.
Yeah, like, don't get me started on pizza. You and I both grew up in New York, so
yes, we know good pizza.
Like we're kind of pizza snobs, but yeah. There's no like.
I will eat Pizza Hut, but if I had to choose between Pizza Hut and another like delivery, whatever, I'm gonna pick the other. You know what I mean? But I'll eat it. If I go to someone's house, they're like, "Oh, I ordered Pizza Hut." All right, I'm gonna eat it. Don't. So if you're listening to this and you want me to come,
I've only got Papa John's, or not even Papa John's. They closed down. I've only got Pizza Hut and Domino's here. It's a struggle, man.
Yeah, you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with both. But now, what's fortunate, like next door, like walking distance, I have like a New York style pizza place from my house, and it's for living in the South, is pretty good. You know what I mean? Like it's actually pretty decent.
Well, and you've got that fancy little pizza oven with your little.
I do.
Your Turtles pizza projects.
That's right. Yeah, which is yet to be released on YouTube, but I do have some plans there with I do make my own pizza in a legit pizza oven, which is a lot of fun. So
I think, dude, now's the time.
yeah,
Like,
no, you're right, and that's trust me, I've thought about it. Like, all right, maybe now I'm going to capitalize on this. I'm going to throw it out there, and yeah. So I won't say too much, but I don't want to spoil it because you'll know when it's on YouTube. But anyway, all right, man. Any other before we jump into what kind of our thoughts on the movie itself and everything like that? Anything else you want to cover as far as like Turtles marketing, anything like that?
Nothing really. I mean, we could
Okay.
get into the Capcom stuff, but that's not really marketing the movie. I think that's just marketing Turtles in general.
Well, and listen, because that is something that you seem pretty fired up about, and I can't disagree with you. So it's Turtles related. Let's talk about it. So if you are a Turtles fan, and if you are a video gamer, you may have noticed recently that in a kind of a promotional crossover with Street Fighter 6, which just came out a few months ago.
Phenomenal game.
And that's what I've heard. I haven't played it yet. I've heard it's amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
I need to. It's on my list. But there's a ton of DLC for it, including what we thought initially was the Ninja Turtles as characters to play as. And unfortunately, I think fans kind of got the rug pulled out from under them there. So it's not necessarily like a character, but rather a costume that your avatar wears in like the open world setting?
Yeah, so there's an open world mode where you get to create a character and you can study under the different fighters and stuff. And yeah, it's just a costume that you put over your character, which is okay. But,
well, it would be okay if it weren't for the price tag. Because they're charging how much? Like, is it $60 per skin, or what did I see?
No, it's not that.
No,
much. It's like $15 per costume.
Oh, it is. Okay, so 15 per costume, but it's a costume for $15.
Yeah, so 60 for all four.
For all four,
turtles.
But that's the price of the game, basically. Like, that's ridiculous for costumes, and it's not even like it's a character.
Yeah, if this were like a free-to-play model game, I would be a little bit more in their favor, but it's not. You already shelled out 60, probably more, because you probably bought the Ultimate Pass that gives you all the first-year DLC characters.
But apparently not the costumes.
Not the costumes, nope. Yeah, it's a little bit greedy. But
yeah. Well, and who knows?
Capcom for you. They're constantly have great games, but terrible DLC.
I feel like their post-market monetization needs some work. We'll put it like that, I guess. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely probably going to get Street Fighter 6 at some point. Because it's only on the newer systems though. That's the problem, right? I have a PS4. I don't think I can get it.
It's on PS4.
Oh, it is? Okay. All right, good. So then I can get that sooner than later. Will I pay for the costumes? Probably not, but maybe they'll have a sale. Who knows?
One day.
So yeah, man, let's jump into it then. So we are reviewing the brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which came out on August 2nd or 3rd. It was like a random Wednesday. I remember that. It was so weird. I was like, why are they releasing it on August 2nd? There it is. We went and saw it that weekend, actually. So we saw it the Saturday after it came out. When did you go see it?
I saw it the Saturday after it came out as well.
Same Saturday. There it is, man. And so
we're probably watching it at the same time.
We might have. I saw it in the middle of the day, so it's certainly a possibility. See, there we were. We were probably watching it. We were connected. It's great. So kind of a general, again, we may have a couple of plot spoilers, but I'm not going to give you like a whole synopsis. Basically, in a nutshell, the film is centered around the four Ninja Turtles. After years of being sheltered from the human world, the Turtles set out to be accepted as normal teenagers through acts of heroism. They go on a hunt for a mysterious crime syndicate, but trouble arises when an army of mutants is unleashed upon them. And that's about as deep as I'll go on the general synopsis, but I think that pretty much covers it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's good enough for Wikipedia, it's good enough for this podcast.
Right.
So. Now, before we get into like initial impressions, I'm looking at like the cast here of like the voice artists they managed to get, as far as mainly for the villains, but like I'm looking through, dude, this is like an all-star cast. Like you've got Maya Rudolph, you've got Ice Cube, you've got Jackie Chan, you've got John Cena, you've got Seth Rogen, you've got Rose Byrne, you've got Natasha Demetriou, we've got Giancarlo Esposito, so many. And then did you notice, by the way, in the opening credits how they showed like Paul Rudd? Did you catch that little nod?
Dude, I did not realize it was Paul Rudd was even in the movie
Yes.
until I went to work the following week. And my
Oh,
friend
really?
was like,
Okay, so like in the
Yeah.
opening credits, it shows introducing Paul Rudd, which I just thought was hilarious
that's
because
really funny.
yeah, and
Yeah.
of course he voiced Mondo Gecko, and then Post Malone actually was surprised by that one, but he voiced Ray Fillet. So I thought that was
Post Malone. I didn't.
that was
realize
Post
that either.
Malone.
That's great.
It's crazy,
That's-
man. Like so many just and then I loved Natasha Dimitri. I don't know if you've ever seen the show What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
So she's
Yeah.
Nadja from that, and so she voiced Wingnut, which is
Okay, yeah.
which is a bat. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. So
That is funny.
and then John Cena's Rocksteady, Seth Rogen's Bebop, Jackie Chan is Splinter, and yeah, just all-star voice cast. So I had to shout that out because I was just very impressed. Not to even mention, like, I mean, I don't know any of. Actually, that's not true. I know one of the 4 kids who voiced the Turtles. Because you've got Micah Abbey, Shaman Brown Jr., Nicholas Cantu, and Brady Noon. And I believe, is it Brady Noon that I know? I think, let me just double check. Yeah, it's Brady. So Brady Noon actually is he's actually in the show The Mighty Ducks on Disney Plus. Did you ever watch that?
Okay. No, I have
So
not. watched
he's
that.
like the main
Not
character from that
the show anyway.
Okay, it's a good
Gotcha.
show. Yeah, so he voices I forget which turtle he is in this, but anyway, I love the fact that this time around, and the first time in my opinion, the turtles actually sound like teenagers. Like, what were your thoughts on?
They were young. They're young teenagers, and it's fantastic. I thought
Yeah.
it was absolutely a great breath of fresh air for the turtles to be young, up and coming teenagers. Like, we're talking, they probably just turned 13 is how I
Yeah.
felt. I know they were probably not, but
I know one of them is. Like, I think the one who voices Donatello, who's got still a prepubescent voice, I think he legit is 13 in real life. Because that's the thing. You think about the word teenager, that's a big range in a kid's life. 13 to 19, there's a huge difference there, but that's all considered a teenager. So I do love the fact that they set this up to where this is their first outing. And so theoretically, we could be seeing, I'm hoping we do see future movies as they grow and mature. You know what I mean? Where, they're kind of growing up with these films. Because I think I love, I mean, and the other thing I love too is that I guess, and this is apparently rare these days, they let the 4 turtles like all sit in the recording studio at the same time to like voice, back and forth. So they're able to actually talk, riff off of each other versus just sitting in a booth by themselves. And I think it shows.
A little interview about that. Yeah, I think they initially probably had a lot of written script, and then they got behind the booth, and Seth Rogen was just listening to them riff just off mic or whatever, not even recording lines, and he was like, "No, this is what the movie should be. Like, let them tell them what's going on in the story, and then let them naturally come up with stuff." And I think it showed very well. Like,
yes,
it
probably
was
the best
very,
chemistry.
very entertaining. Yeah, super good chemistry. It was good to see the turtles not already being established and not knowing how to necessarily fight properly,
right,
and stuff. So it was good to see that. I think
they're still
amazing.
Yeah, well, they're still. Yeah, that's the thing is they're still kind of just figuring their way out, and they've tried to do that in the past. The one I'm thinking of in particular is the 2012 Ninja Turtles animated series on Nickelodeon. Did you ever watch that one?
I think I've seen a few of them. They kind of get a little blurry though. There's so many different Turtles cartoons now.
There's been a few at this point, which if you're a Turtles fan, it's great. But yeah, so I remember in the 2012 show, the first couple episodes, it was the first time they went out on patrol and they were trying to figure out how to work together as a team. So there was some of that here, because again, they're 13-year-old kids beating up grown men. I got to tell you too, the other thing is that I feel like this movie was, for a kids animated movie, I mean, they didn't really shirk away from like violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there was definitely a lot of violence in this movie, which is, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'll say that there was a lot of violence, but it still didn't feel like you could still bring your kids to it.
I didn't feel uncomfortable.
Too much.
No, honestly, the one thing I was worried about with bringing the kids was anytime they let Ice Cube talk, I'm like, he's dropping like PG curse words. I'm like, okay, like every time like I would watch Ice Cube talk, so Ice Cube voiced Superfly, who's like basically the big villain of this movie. Anytime he would talk, and he would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat up the damn turtle." I'm hearing him say that, and I'm looking over my wife to see what face she's making, because that's how I know if I'm in trouble or not for saying let's bring the kids, and she was fine. But that was like the only time I was like, it's Ice Cube, and I feel like they're totally letting him do his own thing. Like, there's one like scene where he's like, I'm really pissed off now, and I'm like, oh yeah, so stuff like that. As an adult, obviously it's whatever, but I'm sitting next to my two young children going, okay, is this okay? But I mean, it is what it is. They had a great time, quite frankly. They loved it. But I want to talk about like obviously the overall kind of visual style that they went with here, but I feel like I want to cover more about like the plot. Again, I don't want to spoil the plot necessarily, but I'll say this: the story of this movie is nothing that hasn't been done before, but I feel like they also kind of lean into that and kind of go tongue in cheek with it. Like there's a scene because like the whole premise is the turtles want to be accepted and the city is scared of mutant freaks and whatever. That's been done before. It's been done in Turtles. It's been done in other movies. But there was like a couple of instances where they actually do reference other movies and shows. And so one of them was they were talking about the Incredible Hulk and how he is in Marvel's Avengers Endgame is like accepted in Hulk form and everyone loves him and he's signing autographs. And I think it was Raph. I can't remember which turtle said it, but he's like, yeah, I totally want to do that. So, they kind of lean into the fact that they're in a stereotypical storyline here. But honestly, it's one of those instances where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? I thought the story was great. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was fantastic. Like, I know that it was probably all stuff that has been done, especially in other, not even Turtles things, but I think they handled it well because even though it's not necessarily an original thing, just the take of letting the kids run wild with it and react to those scenarios and stuff was just very, very fun and very cool. So.
Well, and that's the thing too, because there's so many movies that I consider classics that, I mean, their stories aren't original. Like, for example, I always use this whenever I talk about stuff like this, is the movie Avatar, right? From 2009. It's literally
you mean Ferngully?
You mean Last of the Mohicans? You mean Pocahontas? You mean Dances with Wolves? Yes, exactly. You mean The Last Samurai? Yeah, no, it's all the same thing. And that's fine because they tell it well. And so I think that's true here. They're not breaking any ground with new storylines, but they don't need to because I think they did an amazing job because the whole idea was you're seeing a story play out that you're familiar with. Like you knew how it was probably going to end, but you're like, okay, I'm just along for the ride to see how these characters handle these story points, So I thought
Absolutely.
that was terrific. And let's talk about, because there's a few twists in this movie that if you are a hardcore Turtles fan, this is where I think it gets divisive as far as changes they decided to make on character lore or background or things like that. I think the obvious one, and I don't want to dwell on it too much because I think it's stupid when people are getting butthurt over it, but what were your thoughts on April O'Neil? There's a lot of controversy around how she's portrayed in this movie. She doesn't look like what you would think April O'Neil would. She's a high schooler. I personally had zero issues. I loved her, but what were your thoughts?
I thought she was great. I liked her character design. I like that she's also a teenager in school.
Yeah.
Dealing with her own teenage problems and trying to overcome them. Like, I had no issues with it whatsoever.
Yeah. And again, like people complaining, oh, well, she's not black and all the other iterations. I'm like, I don't care. Like, that doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't change the character in any way. Like, it was terrific. And I did. I love the take on it. I thought she did a fantastic job. So, and who was that? Because I remember she's in that show, The Bear, on Hulu now. I hope I pronounced her name. Ayo Idabiri, I think is how you pronounce her name. Or Io, I don't know. I know her from the show Abbott Elementary, but she's just fantastic. So I thought she did a great job. I am going to have to spoil a little bit here because it was a big twist and I want to get your thoughts on it. But in order to do that, I got to spoil a pretty big plot point near the end of the film. Okay. So if you're listening to this, spoiler alert, you've been warned. You can fast forward like 3 minutes. I'm sure that's enough time. We're not going to spend that much time on it. Otherwise, you've been warned. So what were your thoughts on the way all of the mutants at the end turned on Superfly and essentially became good guys and like lived with the turtles?
I am interested to see in future films how we get them to go back to being villains.
Right.
And because I think Turtles has probably always done a good job of like, all villains are heroes in their own mind, right?
Yes,
like,
of course.
So I'm interested to see. So yeah, I wasn't sure. It was cool to see. It was, but it was definitely a big change to know that. Oh,
I wasn't mad at it. I think
now.
that's the thing. Well, and again, because like I see these people online that are commenting on the fact that there's so many changes. Like, oh, why'd they do that? I don't think there's a single change they made to like the traditional lore that I wasn't on board with. Like, I love the way they did it. In this case, it's, again, all the mutants want to live in the sewer as one big happy family. I think it's fucking great. Like, I think that's awesome. It didn't bother me. There is, spoiler again, if you're still listening to this, we're still talking spoilers. So the mid-credits scene where they introduce the classic Ninja Turtles villain, that's all we'll leave it at. I'm wondering if he will be involved in some of these mutants going back over to the dark side, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we're also again seeing the turtles at the early onset of teenagedom.
Teenagedom. Yeah, that's a word. That's cool.
Sure.
Let's go with
whatever. As early, young teens.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time that can happen and people can change and go back to their bad roots or
their
go down the
bad
wrong
ways.
path. So,
Yeah, well, and that's true because I mean, if this has got legs and this could get like at least like 3 movies, they're actually talking about doing like an animated series of it to kind of set between the 2 movies that are that they're going to be making.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot they can do with this, and you're right. It's because we've seen that too in other movies where like the bad guys that you know of as the bad guys, they started off as good guys, and so. Maybe they'll do that here. I don't know. We'll see. But again, I was totally on board with that. What were your thoughts? Again, going, still spoiling things here, but what were your thoughts on Splinter finding his love interest at the end there in Scumbug?
Super interesting choice. I'll give it that.
Yeah. I was honestly fine with it. I thought it was hilarious. It didn't bother me.
It's very funny. It's very funny.
Well, let's talk about Splinter for a second. And so he's probably the biggest departure as far as most characters, at least the good guys, because he is not from Japan and he did not study martial arts as a ninja master. And, like all these changes, but he's still the father to these 4 turtles. What were your thoughts on the changes they made on Splinter?
I enjoyed them. Like, I liked that he did attempt to go out into the world. And are we still trying to avoid spoilers here?
No, fuck it. We're just. I'm gonna be recording a big old warning before the intro of the show. Like, hey, spoilers ahead. You've been warned. We're gonna try. I'm not gonna give you the whole plot, but we're gonna talk about the movie. Suck it up.
Yeah. I feel like most people, if they're
listening to this, they've probably seen it or they're planning to see it. Yeah.
I liked that he also learned on the fly with them, and I love the fact that the animators, the story writers, and everything leaned into the Jackie Chan fighting style that we grew up watching, where he's just using everything to his ability and his improvisation with.
And he's clumsy.
It's clumsy, and it's excellent. That's probably my favorite fight scene in the whole movie.
Yes, well, and Splinter himself, like, there's so many Easter eggs tied to him just from his character in this. So, you talked about Jackie Chan, kind of that fighting style. Did you happen to notice that the young Splinter, when they show the flashbacks of him like raising the turtles, did you realize who he was modeled after?
No, I guess not.
So he's actually modeled after Kevin Eastman, one of the co-creators of the Ninja Turtles, with the big mullet and the mustache. Like, if you go look up like Kevin Eastman in the 80s, that's literally what he looks like. And so I'm pretty sure that's who they modeled him after, as, you know, kind of the quote-unquote father of the Ninja Turtles. You know what I mean? So I thought that was pretty crazy. Yeah, no, I think Splinter's character was, and I'll tell you what I really love too, because, you know, where he's at the end, you know, because he realizes that both he and Superfly, so Superfly, since we're just going to go ahead and keep giving spoilers out, Superfly is essentially the mutant, like, child of Baxter Stockman. So Baxter Stockman from the cartoon and the comics, whatever, he turns into a fly. Well, I don't know if he does in the comics, but I know in the cartoon, I know him as like the fly human mutant. In this, I think does he get killed in the first 5 minutes? Like, is he dead, or?
I don't think he's dead. I think they just captured him.
Okay, because I mean, he's voiced by Giancarlo Esposito, who you might know as Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. He's in The Mandalorian, so he's a very well-known actor. So I'm like, if they're going to waste him on 5 minutes in the beginning of a movie, that's a shame. So I'm really hoping they do bring him back. There is a scene at the end where one of the other villains, Cynthia Utrom, has got like a fly buzzing around in a jar. Is that supposed to be Superfly, or is that just a fly that she's saving to mutate Baxter?
I'm honestly not sure. I assume it was probably Superfly, but
yeah, because I'm trying to remember what happened to him. It's the one thing, like, because I know he got demutated, but did he turn into a fly, or did he just die? I don't remember. So anyway, or maybe he'll then be mutated alongside Baxter Stockman as like another hybrid. Who knows? We'll see. But I thought that was very interesting. And then, but the whole point of that is because, you know, Superfly saw essentially his dad get killed by humans or captured or whatever. He hates humans. And Splinter, on the flip side, because he is being chased by humans, and then when he goes up as a human, you know, as a grown adult mutant, not a human, but a grown adult mutant, he's still like just seen as a monster and tried to, you know, they try to kill him when he's up on the surface. So he hates humans too. And so they have very different approaches to how they hate humans. But Splinter at one point is trying to reason with Superfly, and he's like, dude, I get it. You hate humans. I hate humans, but this is not the way we got to go about it. And so I thought that was very interesting. You know, it almost reminded me of like X-Men with Charles Xavier and Magneto, where, like, you know, Splinter is like, listen, the humans aren't my favorite, but we gotta work this out peacefully. Whereas, you know, Superfly and Magneto are like, no, you know what? Fuck the humans. We're doing this mutant style.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting.
It also gives you like a more understanding of Superfly too, of just like,
yeah,
that's why villains, what makes a good villain is you understand
it's the villains that don't think they're a bad guy. Like, yeah, well, like you said, they're a hero in their own mind. If they truly know, they think they're doing good, like, those are the best villains, in my opinion. So I thought that was a very interesting, you know, kind of parallel there. And especially at the end when Splinter does realize, oh shit, like, this is what I could become if I don't, like, readjust my, you know, perceptions. And I don't think he likes humans by the end of the movie. I think he's still kind of leery about them. He likes one human. That's it. He likes April. Exactly. But I did like the scene where the turtles are getting overwhelmed, and, you know, at this point there's like, in the news, they're saying, oh, these turtles are attacking everyone. They're mutants. They're monsters. And April ends up getting into Channel 6 News, right? Which, again, harken back to the original cartoon. And she gets on the air, because that's totally realistic. And she basically says, like, no, the turtles are the good guys. Like she straight up says it. And so all of a sudden, all the New Yorkers are like, oh, well, you know what? Okay, cool. Maybe they're not that bad. And all of a sudden, everyone in New York teams up with the turtles and helps them out. And that's another thing that they kind of departed from, because in pretty much every iteration of the Ninja Turtles, they are hidden for most of the series, whatever series it is. Like they work in the shadows. Whereas with this one, like, they are out in the open. Like, they don't even mess around in this movie. Halfway through, all of a sudden, they're in the public eye and they are seen as heroes, and everyone wants to help them out. So I thought that was a very interesting approach that they did there. What were your thoughts on that?
I want to see more of them going to school.
Yes, and that's what I was going to bring that up, because at the end of the movie, their dream throughout the entire thing is they want to go to school. They want to be around people, and so like I don't know how far into the movie, but they sneak into the school at night, and like they get to see what it's like for humans, and they just think it's the coolest thing ever. Like Mikey is like, dude, I can sign up for improv club. This is amazing. And so there's all these different things. And then by the end of the movie, yes, they end up, how they managed to get into public school, I don't know, but they show up, they're just wearing school clothes. I thought this was interesting too. This is like one of the few times where like they don't wear their masks. They take off their masks because those are like their fighting masks or whatever, and they wear literal just like human clothes. And so at the end of the movie, they show up. They just want to be accepted. And so I'm hoping that this animated series that's going to be coming out between this movie and the next movie will just be them in school, because I think that could be awesome.
I think it'd be a fun little twist.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about, like, we've kind of glossed over. There's two big things I still want to cover. One of which is like the visuals, not the cinematography because it's animated, but I guess it's called cinematography. And then I want to talk about
cinematography.
Yeah, there it is. But then I want to talk about the music and the soundtrack. Which one do you want to cover first here? Because I'm excited about both.
Let's go visuals, man.
Okay, this movie's fucking gorgeous. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. It's a fantastic art style.
So you like this art style? Because I wanted to get your thoughts on that too. Because
I do.
I love it. Like, if you've seen like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or even like the Puss in Boots movie that came out a few months back, like it's this like 2D, 3D cell shaded, like low frame rate animate. I don't even know what it's called, but it's I adore looking. Every single frame you could hit pause and go, that's a work of art.
Yeah, like it gives you claymation vibes, but it's not like claymation.
It's like rotoscope. Do you know what rotoscoping is?
Yeah.
Where like they animate over like an actual like person.
Yeah.
Like, because it's so fluid and smooth that like you get like, it's like, oh, you can almost see like a person in a costume, but it's clearly animated.
I was wondering if maybe they did any mocap stuff, but I don't believe they did. Could be wrong though.
I don't think so. I mean, I hadn't heard about if they did, but
yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, I think it's a great way to show that world. It made the gross things extremely gross.
Yes.
Like they made it a little bit more visceral, which was great. Like we're not talking blood and guts or anything.
No.
Like sewage and vomit.
well, you know what I thought was interesting too is I forget, I think it was my wife Beth was like asking me, is like, why do the humans look so weird? And honestly, the way I interpreted this movie was like, this is literally like if a kid in high school who was still figuring out how to draw and had his own unique style was drawing this movie. So he was drawing people as looking really weird because that's how he thinks.
Yeah, they definitely had. Yeah, they had very, very, like, if you looked at their faces, they all kind of had the same head structure.
Yeah.
For the humans and stuff, like a weird little, almost mutant-esque as well.
Yeah, well, sure. It was weird looking.
It was definitely strange. So I don't know. I bet that was I feel like that was a choice to make you more in tune with the turtles than with the humans, I guess, maybe. But maybe I'm reaching there.
And I don't know. They look very weird. They almost remind me of like characters in like a Tim Burton stop motion, like Nightmare Before Christmas or whatever, you know what I mean? That kind of the weird proportions. But what I honestly thought of was like, okay, if a kid was doodling and sketching something out, if you were to pause, as I said, if you were to pause a frame of this movie, it looks like something that a kid like sketched out on his, on a tablet or even on a piece of paper. It just looks, I can't get enough of looking at this movie. You know what I mean? Like I used to feel that way, I guess, about like the super detailed CGI movies, like, the Super Mario Brothers, which was a fantastic movie. I still haven't reviewed that for the podcast, but I loved it. But obviously very like almost hyper realistic CGI where like you've got the real textured, set pieces, whatever. And this was like, and I think for a while that was like, oh, that's amazing. But I'm so used to that now that something like this is so fresh and unique. Like, I could watch this type of animation at this point, like forever. Like I think this is my new favorite way to watch animation. I don't know how much it's going to be, adopted for other properties or whatever. I wish it would.
I'm with you. I hope they stick with the animation with the series and with subsequent movies that I'm assuming they're going to put out. Um, yeah, they did a good job. Whatever team was behind that, props.
Is beautiful. And again, like, I feel like it was a very, even just like the color choice palettes, it just felt very 90s, right? And you know, and we haven't even well, that's the thing is we haven't even talked about, I mean, a little bit, but like the actual physical appearance of a lot of these characters, they are obviously very unique and they're fresh for this movie. But I mean, this is the first time the Turtles literally look like they remind me of the action figures, right? They had the black belts with their letters on their belts. Like, it just, there was so much love put into the designs of these characters for kids who, well, I should say adults who were kids during the 90s and watched the original series, but at the same time making them kind of fresh and modern. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did a great job too of like, oh, it's not just the bandana that is the different. Like, you can tell each individual turtle who they are.
And they've always, I feel like a lot of the movies have been able to do that, especially the live action ones. Like, if you were to look at a black and white still, like, they had the unique face shapes and things like that. But, and then you had the Michael
This one just seemed like it hit harder for me. I don't know if
I don't know. I mean, well, okay. I mean, I guess I was going to save this to the end, but I do want to ask you, where would you rank this among the other, you know, Ninja Turtles films that you've seen?
Honestly, it's pretty up there.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, to be fair, I haven't watched any of the older Turtles movies in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I think I'd put it right up there against the
original,
the first live action one.
Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing because I agree. I think like the original's like, it's my favorite movie of all time. Like, I don't know what's going to, I think I have too much nostalgia for it that I don't think anything can beat it. But good God, this is probably a close second at this point. I loved watching this movie. It was such a good time. So, all right, because I want to like actually kind of like stack rank it and all that stuff. So before I do that, let's go into the music, right? Because the soundtrack, the music for this movie was
fantastic,
off the chain, right? Amazing,
so
like,
good.
You had so much like 90s rap and hip hop in there. Did they even have any like modern songs or not really? Right?
I don't remember any modern songs.
No.
It definitely was reaching out to capture the nostalgia. Yeah, I'd have to look up the soundtrack for sure to really get it. But no, I think a lot of it was old hip hop.
That's what I thought. But even like the score itself, I don't know who's. Oh, actually, I do know who scored this movie. It's Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. He scored the, so like there's even like the intro there where like you got the ooze flowing in the sewers, like that industrial rock sound. I mean, it's just awesome. Like I have not found it yet to listen to it on Spotify, but I will because it's so good. Yeah, I thought it was terrific. And honestly, the entire package of this movie is like just proof of my theory that every 30 years what's old is new again, because you got these great old songs from the 90s. You know, you're bringing back like the aesthetic of the 90s here, and it's hitting hard throughout most of the movie. We talked about it as far as just the colors and the brightness of it. Like it is the perfect like example of nostalgia done right, like while making it for modern audiences. You know what I mean?
Yep. And even going so far to put the ninja rap in there as well.
Yes, as the ringtone. It was the ringtone, right?
I think so. It was that, or it was just in the car when they were fighting. I can't remember which.
I can't remember either. It might have been that. It might have been like something playing on the radio or whatever. But yeah, well, that's actually a perfect segue, because one of the things I wanted to go through is I found a list on ScreenRant.com of Easter eggs that you may or may not have missed from the movie. So I want to kind of go through a few of those here. So right out of the gate, Cynthia Utrom. Do you understand the potential Easter egg there? It's a deep one.
No.
Okay, so it's not, I guess, not too deep if you read the comics. So her last name, Utrom, is actually the race of aliens that are in the comic books that are the little brain creatures that live in robot bodies. So essentially, before Krang was Krang, they were called Utroms. And did you also notice, if you look at a picture of Cynthia Utrom, that she's rocking a pair of, like, visor glasses? I'm trying to show you on the screen here, but my phone's acting funny. She almost has, like, a Krang look to her face. Yeah, so... And she's wearing like Krang kind of earth tone tan colors.
She
I
did
thought that
look
was
a little
interesting.
Krang, now that you mention it.
So I thought that was very interesting. What's another one here? Oh, so I mean, another obvious one is TCRI. So in the comic books, TCRI was the name of the company, I guess, that basically discovered or developed the ooze, the mutagen, and so they're the same thing here. It's all TCRI. They talk about Batman, which again, if you're a fan of the comics, like there have been numerous Batman Ninja Turtles crossovers, and so they do the whole thing where Leo's doing his Batman voice, and he's you sound like Batman. So I thought that was a nice little throwback there, and just the fact that Ninja Turtles is a Nickelodeon property. They mentioned several Nickelodeon characters in it.
Yeah, they really grounded it in this world. Like they are
Yes.
living in the actual sewers of New York. Like.
And so this is interesting, by the way. I don't know if this is an Easter egg or more of a cameo, but are you familiar with Mr. Beast on YouTube?
Yeah.
Did you realize that he voiced a minor character in this movie?
I had heard that he voiced somebody, but I did not know. I could not tell you who it was.
So he is in the flashback scene with Splinter, where Splinter is up on the surface, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's just a guy in a rat costume," and he tries pulling on his face. And so that was...
Oh, okay. That's really funny. I did not realize that was him, no.
Oh, yeah. Another one that, again, I don't know if it's an Easter egg necessarily, but I love the fact that they were showing Ferris Bueller's Day Off in the park, because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I thought that was kind of cool. We talked about the Ninja Rap there. The Turtle Van, obviously, they've got a pizza van that they're going to probably convert into a Turtle Van, so that's pretty dope. Let's see here. So I thought this was interesting, actually. So did you catch where Michelangelo says cowabunga?
I mean, how did you not?
Yeah. Well, and so this is interesting, though. I don't know how true this is or not, because I saw it on Reddit. I was reading a thread, and apparently this person on Reddit said that he was invited to an early test screening of the film, and they basically asked everyone at the end of it, like, okay, if there's something in this that's not in it that you want to be in it, what is it? And so somebody suggested, like, well, Michelangelo should say cowabunga. And so supposedly it was based on test audience reactions that they added that in afterwards.
Interesting.
So I thought that was interesting, yeah. And then of course, even just like the end credits, right? So many like just throwbacks to the old Ninja Turtles designs. I thought the end credits. I always love end credits for animated movies because I feel like they do a really fun job with those these days. So, and then of course, obviously the biggest Easter egg here is that Shredder appears in the mid-credits scene. You just see kind of a silhouette of him. I think his design looks pretty interesting. We'll see how that turns out. But I thought I want to go back to it for a second because we talked about how they're essentially living in the real world, because they talk about Marvel, they talk about Disney, they talk about Nickelodeon. There's so many references to, like, I think they talk about My Hero Academia at one point, right? Don't they talk about anime?
Yeah,
because
that's like
Donnie's a huge fan of it.
Attack on Titan.
That's right. That's what. The whole premise of like how they beat Superfly is they use a plot point from Attack on Titan. So like they literally, for a movie that's animated, they are literally making this feel like it's set in the real world. I thought that was amazing. So super.
That really feels like the kids in the sound booth came up with that.
Right.
Like when they were told about kind of went with like how they're going to defeat that, they were like, "Oh, so like Attack on Titan."
Right. And that's how. Let's talk about that, guys. Yeah. I thought it was terrific. So, all right, man. Well, listen. I mean, any before we talk about kind of the final verdict here, like again, comparing it to the previous installments, I'm going to go through some of the classic stuff. You tell me if you think this is better, worse, or just as good. So, we talked about the original live action movie. Would you say this is better, worse, or just as good?
I'd say just as good.
Just as good. Okay.
Maybe a little bit better, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
and then are there any other movies that you can remember where you could fairly compare it to it?
Honestly, no. Like those are
okay.
Those two stick out to me.
Yeah. How would you compare it to the original OG 80s animated series?
It's hard to do that.
That's fair.
If they continue on with a show and have a fluid episode to episode canonical thing, I think it could potentially be better than the original, but the original is always near and dear. So
I think, well, and here's my thing. I agree. I think the original is definitely, I mean, it's for me, it's pure nostalgia. It's literally like, it's like if I was that little girl from what's that Inside Out on Pixar, like that would be one of my core. I would have
memory.
Turtles Island.
Yeah.
I would have Ninja Turtle Island in my head, right? Like that's literally like if I ever get a tattoo, it's going to have something to do with Ninja Turtles. I've already decided. But I will say, it's hard for me to watch the show now, unless it's like with my kids, because it's not an amazing, except for like the first season, which is a tight 5-episode miniseries, basically. The rest of it is just kind of there. So it's definitely, I think nostalgia gives it a lot more points in my, kind of ranking of things. But if they, like you said, if they were to make an animated series continuation of this new universe they've created, I think it would be the best iteration yet of the Ninja Turtles animated series.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that.
Yeah. And there's one thing that I'm almost disappointed, because I feel like unless they just haven't announced it, there's no video game tie-in with this movie that I've seen.
Yeah. I'm kind of upset about that too. Like, especially with Shredder's Revenge out. I was like, man, it'd be such a cool thing to do some sort of like, you don't even have to do like a whole new thing. Just do a skin of the new.
Well, I think they did. I think I caught that in the trailer.
Oh yeah,
I think they might be reskinning them with this movie, like as one of the skin selections. Because I did see the trailer add a whole, and the reason I think it could be this movie is because they show Raphael for like a split second, and he's wearing like the do-rag style bandana that he's got in this that covers his whole head, and so that's why I think, unless it's from the animated series that came out a few years ago, I think it's from the new movie. So we'll see. I don't know for sure, but. Man, I wish they were to, and maybe they got something in the works, especially if they're going to continue this franchise and make it a show and another movie. Like, they've got time. They can, but let me ask you this. If they were to make a video game out of this iteration of the Ninja Turtles, what style of video game would you want it to be? Like a fighting game or like a Turtles beat 'em up?
Beat 'em up. Anything Turtles has to be a beat 'em up to me. Like,
yeah.
I'm just a big fan of the beat 'em up. I told you it's my first game that I have actual memories of playing, and
that's fair.
Like, it's sad to me that genre is kind of fallen off. So
it's coming. I don't know. It's coming back though, because Shredder's Revenge.
It's kind of coming back.
Yeah, So I mean, who knows, man? I think it would be kind of cool. I think either that or honestly, I do think I think the Turtles are overdue for a good fighting game. Because I love Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. I never played the Smash Brothers clone from the Wii and the PS2. Did you ever play that? The Ninja Turtles Smash Up?
No.
No. See, exactly. No. Nobody did, and that's why it didn't sell. It was basically a Smash Brothers clone using Ninja Turtles characters.
Okay.
So,
well, you know that they've been put into Nickelodeon All-Star Smash.
When I played with them,
All-Star Brawl.
All-Star. I think it's All-Star Brawl. Yeah.
All-Star Brawl.
I have.
They're making another one, by the way.
I did see the trailer for that. Yes, so that should be interesting. We'll see.
They're also even more turtles.
Yes. And they're in kart racing, and they're in all kinds of stuff. So, I don't know. I would love it if they did do a video game tie-in, but if not, they've done so much. I've talked about it. The toys, the food, everything. Like honestly, I like it. Probably not because you don't have kids, but like if you look up like the bedspreads they have for kids, like the comforter and sheet sets, it's like the coolest thing ever. It literally looks like a giant piece of paper with doodles all over it that one of the turtles might have drawn when they're bored one
That's
day.
Great.
It's
That's
amazing.
Great.
Like, it's just, oh God. You know what? It reminds me of, I haven't done it a lot lately, but like the artwork I have made for like Generation S show episodes where I would draw it on like a piece of paper. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe that this movie gives. And it gives a warm, fuzzy feeling of nostalgia for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I love it so much. So, oh man. So, I don't know. Final verdict, recommendation, thumbs up, thumbs down. I mean, I think it's safe to say like 2 thumbs up for me at least.
Well, I got to ask you this first.
Sure.
Which turtle was your favorite in this one, man?
Oh my God, that's a good question because they are very unique and different. I think I got to go Donatello. I don't know.
I'm with you, dude.
Yeah,
Donatello, he killed it in this movie.
He's hilarious. Yes,
he's
hilarious. And all the turtles were good. I thought all the kids were great in this movie.
No, they were all fantastic.
But Donnie was hilarious. And what were you? I mean, when you first heard his voice as like a true little kid, did that throw you off, or did you get used to it right away?
I was fine with it.
Yeah,
All the
same
way.
here.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
no problems with it.
Yeah, no, I thought, okay, there's one thing I love about Donnie too is that because he's worn glasses in a few different iterations now of Turtles, and you're always like, well, why does he have glasses? He lives in a sewer. But in this, they literally show him, I don't know if you notice this, when they're babies, he picks up a pair of glasses on the floor in the sewer and just puts them on his head, and he just never takes them off. He likes wearing
Yeah.
It's not because he needs glasses, he just likes wearing them.
Right.
The only
Probably
thing...
don't even have any lenses in them.
Who knows at this? Yeah, probably not. The only thing I would criticize from this movie, and it's not even a criticism, is how in the hell did Michelangelo get braces?
I don't know. Splinter must have watched a YouTube tutorial.
You know what? Maybe we'll go with it, man. Because I do love. Well, and that's the other thing too is how do they all have phone plans with phones, and how do they have service down in the sewer?
It's New York, man. People drop their phones in the sewer all the time.
I guess that's fair, but how do you have service down there? You're underground. I don't know, but I do love that because again, that's like the modern take where they're all sitting around before bedtime, just sitting on their phones because God knows we all do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like that's what kids do. Like I feel like this movie, was made by people who understand teenagers in the 2020s. You know what I mean? Like, because I can't even claim to do that at this point. Like I don't know. So like a lot of this stuff, like there's so many slang, so much slang that they use now that I don't know what it means. I had to ask my 8-year-old son, like, Carl, what does that mean? And he's, oh, Dad, that's what that means. Oh, cool. Okay, thank you. Like, I felt kind of old, but it was I was okay with it because I knew that these are teenagers in a modern time. So,
luckily for me, I put on esports tournaments, so I'm around a lot of that slang, so I kind of pick it up a little bit.
Yeah, I do. What's the one thing that?
Sure, if I used it, they'd make fun of me.
Okay, but yeah, they call you a boomer all of a sudden,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Man. Good stuff, man. Well, listen, dude, thank you for coming on for this. I'm glad. I wanted to review this because, again, this was Turtles has always been such a big part of my life that I had to share my thoughts on this movie. So hopefully if you're listening to this, you are a Turtles fan or maybe, want to check this film out because again, safe to say, both of us highly recommend this film especially if you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles, but even if not, it's just a super fun animated film for 2023.
It's so much fun. If you are a Ninja Turtles fan and you've got kids and you want to get them into Ninja Turtles, I think this is a great movie to get them started.
Yes, 100%.
I brought my niece to it. Her and her friends, she loved it. She's always liked the Turtles, but yeah, they absolutely loved it.
Yeah, no, mine too. Mine have kind of been indoctrinated with Turtles since they were born because I put that on them, which is probably not good, but so yeah, they were pretty excited. But I think this is a fantastic gateway, for a modern audience. I would agree, 100%.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. Doesn't matter what age you are, you'll get the movie, you'll understand it, you'll have a good time. There's a lot of jokes for you and the kids in there.
Yep,
I cannot wait for the sequel. I didn't realize they were doing a television series. Can't wait for that. I hope they keep going with it. I'm interested to see how they do.
Yep, absolutely. So, and I've already pre-ordered the 4K Blu-ray. By the way, I'm not. That's already in my cart and pre-order, ready to go from Target.
I'm probably gonna do that right after this. Actually,
yeah. Just just why not? Already. That way you don't have to think about it, and just when it comes out, you're good to go. So. Exactly. Oh, man. You know what I forgot to do, and I'm sorry. I feel like at the beginning of every episode we do together, I give you a chance to plug Texoma Esports. So before we wrap up here, if you wouldn't mind explaining to the listeners what Texoma Esports is, and furthermore, what you got going on here in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah. Texoma Esports, we run video game tournaments, typically focusing on Super Smash Ultimate. But we have branched out. We have been running some Street Fighter 6, and we have a big event coming up in September. I believe it's September 9th and 10th. It's going to be it's Hyper Beam 2 Close Combat. It is a Super Smash Ultimate tournament. It's also going to have Street Fighter 6, and Smash is going to have a top 32 payout. So if you can get into the top 32, you'll go home with some money. I'm not sure exactly what the prizes are, but Yeah, so you can register for that, I believe, at star.gg/hyperbeam2. I hope that's right.
We'll see.
But if not, look us up. Texoma Esports. You can find us on Twitch, X now, not Twitter. X.
That's right. Yeah, it's not Twitter anymore.
Instagram, Facebook, any social media. If we're not there, let us know so we can be there.
There it is, man. Well, Derek, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. I always love having you on, and we'll get you back on soon. We'll find a topic that we can just dig into and go nuts. And yeah, man. No,
always down, man. Always
yeah, dude.
down.
Seriously, always a pleasure. And guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, make sure you are following us on social media at Generation S Podcast on basically every platform: Facebook, Twitter. No, not Twitter or X for that matter. I do not have one of those. I should get one. I don't know. But I'm on Threads now. I'm on Threads, so if
I'm not on Threads yet.
Yeah, see, get on Threads, man. That's where all the cool people went.
That's true.
But Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube as well. Just search for Generation S. You will see that giant S symbol that is all over the promotional material for this podcast, so you'll know you're in the right place. And in the meantime, seriously, our numbers, they've kind of dipped a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. They've kind of slowed down. I'm hoping it's just summer vacation. People are maybe too busy to listen to a show. But, I would love it if you could maybe recommend the podcast to a friend. If you know anyone that would enjoy hearing me talk about Ninja Turtles or video games or really anything from the 90s and the early 2000s, have them check the show out. Well, you know how to find it. Just show it to them and send them a link. Also, if you could, maybe leave a quick review. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but what that does is that puts us on the lists for like retro podcasts. So if there's enough reviews, it'll kind of bring the show up in the rankings so that when people are searching for just 90s, it might come up and just help kind of grow that show more. Because the more the show can grow, the more I can do for you guys, whether it's here or on YouTube. Seriously, thank you for listening. I've been having so much fun. We're well into over a year of this podcast now, and I'm not getting sick of it yet. I'll be honest with you. There's certainly days where I'm like, what do I want to talk about this week? But every time I end up recording an episode, I fall in love with doing this all over again, and it's because of guests like my buddy Derek here and Lou and all those people that I do this, and it's for you guys. So thank you so much for listening, and go see the movie. Thumbs up. Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
Go see the movie and go buy some Generation S shirts too. He's got a dope Ninja Turtles Generation S shirt. That would go great for you to go and watch this movie in.
Yes, absolutely. And a link for the shop will be in the podcast episode description. So with that, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.